Welcome to Spilled Ink. Yes, sirs, this is another episode of Spilled Ink, and today I am joined by DJ Doc the Lion, who we met in 2019, I think late December 2019, to throw
Yes,
a party for Sean Kemp's 50th birthday.
that
Uh,
sounds right.
yep, and I don't remember how we started talking about the Pacers. Uh, but I've always, like I think there was the initial connection, and then the fact that we're both Pacers fans living in Seattle,
Oh
it's
yeah,
thing. But welcome. How have you been? How you doing?
been good, my man. Just moving on in turntables as usual, and just trying to keep it fancy.
And I should say, since a lot of this is about this podcast deals with a lot of high school stuff, you're coaching or have been coaching in Washington, correct?
I sure have. Yes, yeah. I
Yeah, and
coached in
we're
Ingram High School.
Ingram, okay.
Yeah,
And are you coaching on the varsity team or
varsity top assistant, and then the JV head coach. Yeah.
nice. What is it about that? Like what is it about coaching that you enjoy?
Oh man, it's seeing a group of individuals actually coalesce and become a team is the main thing. The main thing. If you can get cohesion with a group of strangers or a group of buddies who haven't necessarily crossed that path of commitment to one another. Like you have to commit when you play the sport of basketball, really any sport. It's good to see that happen organically. Good to see them come along with the program, to
Mhm.
start to have faith and build into that program.
And you seem to have, I mean, it's definitely a challenge at Ingram, given that you're playing that Metro League schedule every year, right? Like that's
Oh, hands down, hands down. It is like I told the fellas, it's basketball everywhere else. It's war down here in Seattle. When you think about it, we're playing future NBA basketball players. There's no poke or no disrespect to that at all. In fact, there's the highest admiration for that fact that I can even say that I was able to coach versus a baby boy Murray or even Kevin Porter Jr. No, sorry, Michael Porter Jr. and Kevin Porter himself too. He was,
Mhm.
he went to Rainier Beach. So yeah, just saying I got a chance to coach against those guys is pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm. And obviously, as an Indiana fan, that is a state that knows a lot about basketball.
Oh
How
yes.
would you compare the two? I will specifically say the state of Indiana, the city of Seattle.
Absolutely. I would say just knowing the pedigree that I've come from in terms of the state and basketball culture in Indiana to witness basketball in Seattle is just as electrifying, maybe even more athletic. Just as exciting because let's face it, these kids we don't have the Supersonics necessarily yet, but in its place is an incredible level of high school, college, and certainly professional amateur sports in the Northwest. So I'd say that they mirror each other in many ways,
Mhm.
many ways.
And are you from Indiana?
I was born in Berkeley, California, but I
Okay.
was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I basically claim Indiana as my home.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
what's your first Pacers memory?
Oh man, my first Pacers memory. I actually got a chance to see Michael Jordan play the Pacers in like 1988, 1984, I want to say it was. We had a really good guy named Clark Kellogg that we got from Ohio State. And of course, we went there to see him, but there was also this guy, 23, that played for the Chicago Bulls. And I wasn't even aware really of who he was. All I remember is that our sideline announcer just kept saying Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. It was just yeah. So that was the memory. And
Mhm.
Chuck Berry was performing after the game too. So that was pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been in the old Market Square Arena, right?
Marcus Square Arena. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
actually I will say that one of the things that makes me most sad about my basketball fandom is that I have never seen a Pacers game in Indianapolis. I've seen lots of Pacers games in many places. I've seen them in Miami, and I saw them at the Tacoma Dome back in the
Nice.
day. I've seen them at, Key Arena. but never in Indianapolis. And I had the chance. So when the Washington women's basketball team went to the Final Four, it was in Indianapolis, and the
That's right.
Pacers were playing the day before. So our plane's coming in, and Quinn Buckner's son, Jason, who I'd gotten to know, 'cause, when I was covering preps at the Times, and he was a scout for the Pacers. And I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Can you get me a ticket?" Gets me a ticket. It's waiting for me. We're flying in. I'm going to be able to like get on the ground, go straight to the game, hit St. Elmo's after the game, and then there's a storm, and we're
Of course.
delayed,
Of course.
and we land like the game is over by the time we land. So
Mm.
I have been into Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I've never seen a Pacers game there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an experience like no other. It's the field house, sure, because you get a chance to see, the rich history, the rich tradition of Indiana basketball encapsulated all over that field house. I know in the early 2000s it was nominated and won best venue to watch, sports, to watch basketball,
Hmm.
like on numerous times. And then, of course, like I said, it's really the fans, it's the people. You'll run into the most knowledgeable basketball people that you'll ever know. Everybody's got their PhD in basketball out in Indiana.
Hmm. Yeah, and I remember like so when I first became a fan, I remember when they would play the Indianapolis 500, like the engines in the arena, right? And that was they don't seem, at least it doesn't come through on TV anymore. But man, during a game when they would do that, it was like chills every time.
Yes, indeed. Yep, trying to get people that fervor, and what's beautiful now is that well, first they still do the sound effect of the Indy cars. Now though, they actually have such a quick pace. The team plays such a quick pace that it is certainly resemblant of those revving engines that you hear going by.
Yeah, I mean in some ways, which is interesting because it's the complete opposite of the way the team played the last time Carlisle was the coach, right? Where it was like
Yes,
slow it
absolutely.
down, run the offense, grind
Much
it.
slower. Yep.
Yeah.
The number one option was Jermaine O'Neal, if I'm not mistaken. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and
Slow it
then
down.
that was so that reminds me of two things. One, finally break through, make it to the finals with, Reggie, the Davis brothers, Rick Smits, and it's to play Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers, right? And so, going in, you I think after game one, Rick Smits is like, "There's nothing I can do against Shaq," and I'm like, "This is over. we're
Yeah,
we're
pretty
done."
much. Pretty
Um,
much.
and so that was crushing. And then to me, this team remains to be seen, right? Because obviously they got to the finals, but I think for my money, the most talented Pacers team ever was the year of the Malice in the Palace with
That's
Ron
right.
Artest, Steven
That's right.
Jackson,
That's
Brad
right.
Miller, Jermaine O'Neal.
Hmm.
I believe Jamal Tinsley was on that team.
He was
Obviously,
on that team too.
Reggie,
Reggie.
Al Harrington.
Yep.
I mean, that was a squad.
It
And
was. They were built to win.
yeah, do you think
Yeah.
like, and this is not necessarily just being biased, but had the Malice at the Palace not happened, they win the title that year, right?
That there's no question. We win the title that year. We had pound for pound the very best defender down low in Jermaine O'Neal. Pound for pound the very best perimeter defender in Ron Artest. Like I still put him top five, if not like two or one, because he was just incredible.
Hmm.
So yeah, defensively locked down, offensively locked down. So there was no stopping us. The Lakers couldn't do it, and Detroit certainly proved that. Is just a terrible twist of fate that it happened that way. I have seen Reggie recently on I think it's All the Smoke podcast. He was with Steven Jackson talking about it, and it's good to know that Reggie has found peace or let it go. Still very emotional, for him and really for all of us Pacer fans because we know that team was built to win.
Hmm.
Yeah, unlike any of the other ones, it was really built to win. So it was a rough time, definitely
Hmm.
a rough time. But I'm glad to hear that Reggie Miller is actually more at peace with it.
It's actually interesting too, because I saw that exact same interview, and that the sort of what made me start thinking about that again is that moment. And I don't know, it's just to have a player like that, and obviously, Charles Barkley never won a title. There's lots of great players that never won a
Sure,
title,
sure,
but
sure.
I feel like of all players, Reggie always ran into something, right? Like, first it was the Knicks, and
The Knicks.
then it was the Pistons, and then it was
This is
then it was
Chicago.
the Bulls. That's right. I was like, who was the yeah, like, and just like teams where you knew it just wasn't gonna happen, and so to see this happen and to see Tyrese do the choke I was like, okay, like we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, the right direction for sure. And then, did you notice Brunson headbutt Nimhard? Did you see that? He headbutted him the same way John Starks headbutted Reggie Miller.
Well, like I will say, I think Jalen Brunson is a tremendous player.
Oh,
What he
he's a
does at
dog.
his size, so great. And and I know lots of guys have lots of things, but the push off that he does, like I guess what's with his right hand because he's left-handed, when he drives and it's a push off every time. And I know that stars get those calls, and like it's frustrating when you're a fan of the other team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't agree with that more.
Mhm.
Brunson certainly played into every bit of the role of the dog that I thought he was. Like any team would be fortunate to have that guy. Certainly, it gets the superstar treatment with the pools on the jersey and the yanks on the hand, the headbutts.
Mhm.
Yeah, he gets away with a lot, an awful lot. But
Mhm.
and I don't want to say he's deserving, but at the same token, you can't be mad at the guy because he's really, man, he and Donovan Mitchell are just ridiculous. Like I've learned this past playoffs that these guys are truly, truly the real deal.
Mhm.
Or the real deal. I didn't know about Donovan Mitchell's game until this past playoffs, and man, that guy's great.
Mhm.
Brunson is phenomenal, phenomenal.
I think that's when you look at like what the Pacers have done so far, I mean, they took out Giannis, they took out Donovan Mitchell, they took about Brunson and Cat, uh, and that sort of leads me to this next thing, um, that I actually wrote about it today, that every Sonics fan should be a huge Pacers fan right now, right? Like
Absolutely.
the bandwagon is open, they should jump on it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think one of the best things to ever happen to me really is to grow up in Indiana, to move to the Pacific Northwest in 2000, and here we are in 2025. I'm every bit Washingtonian as the next man here. So, I mean, it's like I was there when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, lost, won, and lost. There when they blew up the Kingdom, there when the Supersonics said bye bye, and watched how that played out. There's a brilliant documentary called Sonic's Gate, Requiem for a Team. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant film. My man Brian Robinson had something to do with that one, and it breaks down exactly how they left. Um, it's yeah, it's a tragedy, but you know, I got hope that the Supersonics will eventually come back someday, one day.
Mhm. What
Yeah.
if you could tell a Sonics fan like one thing, like why outside of beating OKC, why should they root for this Pacers team?
Oh man, because everybody loves the underdog. It's too easy to. I always liken it to, well, when I was growing up, my friends were like, "Yeah, who's your favorite Pacer?" Well, anybody could say Reggie Miller. I mean, he's the face of the franchise. But I like, the very first Pacer jersey I ever bought was Antonio Davis. He was just the man to me, dude. Like first and foremost, I got a chance to meet him and didn't even know that this was Antonio Davis at the time. It's crazy. Backstage at this concert, I recognized Pooh Richardson, who was our point guard at the time,
Hmm.
and Malik Sealy.
Oh
A lot
yeah.
of people don't remember. Indiana Pacers drafted Malik Sealy. He got traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves and certainly started to break out with Kevin Garnett. And then, he got in an accident, rest his soul again. But yeah, I saw those guys, recognized those guys, and Haywood Workman was in this group, and so was Antonio Davis. And I'm like, well, who's these guys? But of
Hmm.
course, sure enough, it doesn't take long. You watch Antonio's game, and it's pretty ridiculous. And he was my first jersey. It wasn't Reggie Miller. He wasn't the guy for me. So
Hmm.
I don't. It's easy to root for the guy. Sonics fans should root for the Pacers because they are the underdog. They are the team that was built organically, properly put together. We weren't looking for these ridiculously contracted, knockdown, superstars. We look for pieces that fit the system. Anybody, the Pacers are easy now. All you have to do is ask the simple question: Who can play with Tyrese Halliburton? That's it. That's as far as building the team out from here out. Who can play with Tyrese Halliburton? Those are the pieces that we're going to put around him, and
Hmm.
it makes sense because man, if you got a Joe Montana like that running your, I don't even have to jump sports. If you have a Magic Johnson, John Stockton running your point like he does, we're good. We're
Hmm.
absolutely good. We are trendsetters in these NBA finals. People are going to see that this is a team under the salary cap, under the luxury tax, built the right way. The return of length, the return of passing, the return of the point guard, the true point guard, delivering like beautiful assists all night. That it's a return to that fundamental game. The Pacers aren't flashy, man. We play smart,
Hmm.
and we play together. That's
Hmm.
it. You know that. You know that like I know that.
Hmm. Would you say, and I'm not going to make the comparison directly because we're not even in the same ballpark, right?
Sure.
But for the NBA right now, I would say that especially in the playoffs, the Tyrese Halliburton to Obi Toppin lob fest is kind of about as close as you get to Gary Payton, Sean Kemp
I've
lob,
heard that.
right?
Certainly heard that before. With all due respect to my man Sean Kemp and Gary Payton, there will never be enough. There will never be. Side note, while I'm living in Indiana, absolutely engaged in Indiana Pacers basketball, I could not help but look west and see this beautiful green and gold squad winning 60 plus games all the fucking, pardon me, all the freaking time. Yeah, like, what I'm saying? The Sonics would just like sit, not 50, 60, 60 games. Outrageous. And you see these highlights with Peyton and Kemp, and you just were just blown away by that, just blown away. So, but yeah, back to your point. I mean, yes, Halliburton to Toppin, I can definitely see that same flair as Kemp and Peyton, but that is certainly walking down Kemp and Peyton's road in their shoes, in their clothes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're walking down they're walking down those dudes' road, man. Really.
Yeah, exactly. And I would never make the direct comparison in any way, try to say that they're, at that same level. But man, I've seen some plays where I'm like, oh, yep, I saw that from those guys. And
Oh yeah.
and I think that's cool. And I think the one thing too that I mean, as we've talked about the Sonics being stolen and taken away. And, I like that Oklahoma City team. Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is great. Chet Holmgren's a good
Yes.
player.
Yes.
I mean, they won the number of games that they won for a
Yes.
reason. And, and, uh, I don't want that team to win anything ever. Like I'm kind of the opposite of you where I'm from Seattle, started as a Sonics fan, then found Reggie Miller and became a Pacer fan. And
Nice.
so, like, and I have no room to say that my team was stolen, but the team in my city that I got to, go watch basketball because of is gone. And and to me, like I don't, if you're from Seattle, if you love Seattle sports, if you're connected to Seattle, I find it hard that anyone could ever support Oklahoma City.
I agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more. Because I've been raised in such a hoopla about the connection between Indianapolis and Seattle, and certainly joining causes together for a common foe. It's been stoking a lot of a lot of excitement for Sonics fans, but then certainly a lot of vitriol and bile for Thunder fans, because I
Hmm.
see them in the Supersonics chat rooms and group pages, etc. And it's like, really, you're in the wrong place. There's rooms for Oklahoma City. There's no need to be here. But that's going to go with it. I think that it makes perfect sense, the connection between Indianapolis and Seattle. When you just talk about basketball by itself, you're looking at, first and foremost, Sean Kemp from Elkhart,
Hmm.
Indiana. I remember being a freshman in high school and watching Sean Kemp compete with his Concord Minutemen in the Indianapolis championship, high school basketball championship. If you don't know it at all right now, Mace, it was so special because there wasn't 5A, 4A, 3A. It was just one huge high school tournament, and whoever was the best team was just going to be the best team of all.
Hmm.
That's why it was so special. And that's why they made the movie Hoosiers, of course, because Hickory was, Milan is such a small team, small town, et cetera. But they won, and it's a perfect story.
Hmm.
But yeah, you got Sean Kemp. You've got um, Detlef Schrempf, played for the
Hmm.
Pacers, played for the Sonics. Obviously, there was a trade for Detlef, and Derek McKee played for the Sonics, played for the
Hmm.
Pacers, and of course we had Sam Perkins, played for the Sonics, played for the Pacers, of course. One that I was recently pulled my coattails about was Kevin Calabro,
Hmm.
the voice of the Sonics. So Kevin Calabro has a younger brother. His younger brother's Dave Calabro, and Dave Calabro does sports for the NBC affiliate in Indianapolis.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Actually, I know Kevin and did not know that.
Yep. His younger brother Dave. Mention Dave next time you see him.
I
Yeah, I
will.
know.
I will.
That was, in fact, Kevin Calabro was one of the first kind of people that I resonated, you gravitated towards when I moved here. It was like, oh, you must be related to, well, you are related to Dave Calabro.
That's a yeah.
That's awesome. So we have those connections, man. We have those legit ties to one another. There's I could go on, but like there is a connection there,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's awesome. Like, shoot, one of the most iconic basketball people in Seattle is a damn Hoosier.
Hmm. Well, tell me about that too, because I've seen some clips, and obviously I've talked to Sean a lot, and in fact used to be on a podcast with Sean back in the day. Um,
Nice.
but how good was he in high school? If you got to see him play,
Man, bringing the ball up the floor, shooting threes, shooting twos, layups, scoop shots off the glass. And let's remember, this is a man child. He's every bit of 6'10, 220, 230 in high school. Like, truly a man child, truly just running shit. Yeah, there's nothing you could do with that guy. He would have certainly been D1. I'm not sure exactly all the reasons why not, but Trinity College, Trinity Valley took a chance, of course, and he all he needed was a chance, man. I mean, the Sonics got him, and the rest was history.
hmm And kind of sticking to that Sean Kemp theme, uh, what was it like being asked to DJ his 50th birthday party, and what do you remember about that?
Oh, that was fantastic on so many levels. Because I couldn't help but think, of course, of the Indiana connection, obviously, and just knowing and having a chance to tell Sean later on, how cool it was. I mean, we can talk about the Sonics all day, but it's nice to reminisce with him about an even sweeter time in his life. It's like, bro, yeah, I remember that.
Hmm.
I remember seeing you on TV. I remember, the stories. I remember seeing you in the clippings. What I'm saying? That was just really cool. Being able to DJ his 50th birthday, knowing what a true, true monumental icon he is to the city of Seattle, the great city of Seattle, it was just a huge honor
Hmm.
because you knew that that came along with, Sonic's past and present essentially and just all the goodness, man. You saw, shoot, Deathless Shrimp was there. It's great.
But it was cool. It was also, I mean, having worked for the Dragons back then, I mean, the fact that like it was also kind of an odd mix of things, right? Like, hey, we're a new football team in town and we're gonna put on a 50th birthday party for Sean Kemp, and like when did it all just make sense to you, or were you like, what is happening here?
Oh no, it made perfect sense. It was just it was really just that was an awesome thing. Like the fact that we could even tie that together was pretty awesome, from Dragons to Sean Kemp.
Hmm.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And I'll never forget that. I think it's interesting in life when you sort of are open to interesting experiences, kind of
Yeah.
how the dots get connected, right? And so, you know, because of that, like I meet you and here we are, like 5 years later, Pacers are in the finals and we
Yes.
get to have this conversation, right?
Conversation. Yeah, man. Yes, indeed. It's a great one to have because it takes so many by surprise. I'm not surprised myself because I understand how much of the market share the Pacers get. I have a little bit of solace in knowing that the Oklahoma City Thunder are even an even smaller market. So we're 21st, they're 27th.
Hmm.
But the Pacers are never on national TV. But I do believe that that stuff is going to start to change. I certainly see that, and I'll give you a heads up as to how. I'm just going to give you just an example.
Hmm.
So State Farm picked up Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
How much you want to bet Caitlin Clark pulls Tyrese Halliburton into the State Farm
Oh yeah.
conversation?
Hmm.
Because she's already a superstar,
Hmm.
and they play for Indiana teams both. It's
Hmm.
a match made in heaven. It really is. So the minute somebody figures that out, you'll see a lot more of Tyrese Halliburton. I'm telling
Well,
you.
and he's got the personality to do it as well,
Oh,
right?
he
Like he's
certainly
got
does.
that.
This does nothing but help him. Like this whole
Exactly.
experience. Yeah, it
Exactly.
truly does.
I think, and I think it's so interesting too, um, because, hearing that conversation, that the poll and that he was the most overrated player in the league. And I'm like, I don't understand how that could even be possible, right? And then to just, because he still, I think, has a level that he can go up to. But,
Yes.
when I mean he got that team and played within a team to get to the NBA finals, right? Like as that team star, as 1A and 1B, however you want to look at it with Siakam. And so like you have to um I don't know, like to just, and I think that to just be up against it, like, oh, there's no way you're going to beat the Bucks. There's no way you're going to beat the Cavs. There's no way you're going to beat the Knicks. Now there's no way, and you can't beat the Thunder. You won't win a title. And in some ways, like to me, all of this sets it up. I'm not going to make any predictions because I don't want to jinx it. In fact, you'll appreciate this. So last year, when the Pacers beat the Knicks in Game 7, I was in Arizona, and my wife and I just happened to go to a thrift store, and I found a Pacers shirt at this thrift store in Arizona.
Oh
Right? It,
wow.
it was way too big. It was like, it was but I was like, it's a Pacer shirt, I have to buy it. Anyway, first time I wore it, game one against the Celtics, they blew that lead. I have not touched that shirt since. I still have it. And in the playoffs started, I was like, oh, should I? And my wife's like, just get rid of it. And I'm like, no, I can't even touch it. Can't, like can't touch it until after the season is over. Um, so while being superstitious, I will also take that, this team just continues to prove people wrong. And I think in a lot of the teams, the Pacer teams that have run into problems are the ones that have been favored, right? The Paul George, Roy Hibbert team, um,
Oh, yeah.
the year when the couple years before the Pacers went to the finals when they were like one of the best teams in the regular season, and then they, didn't make it to the, all of those teams, the Mouse, the Palace team, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I'm going to keep clinging to the fact that it's a good thing that they keep being underdogs.
Agreed. They seem to play well that way. I like it. I heard Pascal Siakam mention at the press conference. He said after one of the games in the Eastern Conference Finals, he says they don't like us, and they're not going to. It's just the way it is. They accept it. So I like that
Hmm.
because that gives them a chip, or it adds to the chip that's already there. You got a lot of guys. Hey, OKC's got the MVP. No disrespect, he earned every bit of that,
Hmm.
every bit of it. But they got the MVP. They got a little bit of glitz. I always see he and I can't remember the other
Oh,
brother's name. But,
Chet, and then
Chet's on there, and Jalen
Jamal
Williams.
Jamal Williams,
Jalen
Jalen
Williams.
Williams,
Maybe it's Jalen Williams, I think.
something Williams.
Uh,
I don't, yeah. So I
yeah,
should know that. I should
Williams.
know that. Yeah.
But all three of them are there. Is it an Allstate commercial or some kind? Anyway, the whole
Yeah.
point is that they're doing that.
Yeah.
National commercials, Blase Scoop. The Pacers are they. I was thinking of it today. They were like a very hungry wild dog at this point.
Hmm.
You know, they don't have any respect. Halliburton's getting told he's overrated. I look at Pascal Siakam as probably the most underrated All Star. Of all of them.
Hmm.
And I think to myself, there's only so much that you can take, and I bet that those young men use that as fuel
Hmm.
to because the thing is this. People say, well, yeah, OKC won 68 games and Cleveland won 64 games. Those games go out the window when the playoffs start.
Hmm.
Completely, what I'm saying? We don't care. We were the fourth seed playing like the one,
Hmm.
period.
Hmm.
Yeah, in fact, you want proof of that? They show you going back to January, the Pacers had the second best record in the NBA behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we
Exactly.
we were the one seed. Shit,
Hmm.
it
Well,
looks like it to me.
and I will also say that the one thing that the Pacers have that Oklahoma City doesn't is that they did all this last year, right? Like, and
Yes.
I think what people forget is that in the first three games, they did get swept by the Celtics. In the first three games of that series, they had significant leads and they had the Celtics on the ropes in the second half.
Yes,
And they blew the first, and the first two games, they made mistakes that cost them the game. The third one,
they
I don't
did.
think Tyrese played or he got hurt. But, I like no one has said anything about that. And, like, so they played toe to toe with the team that won the title last year,
That's
and
right.
then they got better. They got better this year, right?
Of course.
So yeah,
Yeah, Siakam had a whole year to gel with that team. It was awesome in the offseason after the playoffs were over last year. He invited everybody out to his house to hoop and just gel. And you love that shit when it's like I said, when it's organic, man, you gotta love it.
hmm
It's a
and
buy-in.
and I mean, look at their guys that are, I mean, they didn't have to spend much to get Neesmith. Nemhard was a second round pick, TJ McConnell, like, I mean, how can you not let me? You hate him if he's not on your team, but you love him on your team. I mean, just all these
Oh, he
guys,
loved him to
Obi
death.
Toppin,
Yes.
and I'm so glad they held on to him. And I'll admit, like I've been kind of up and down on Miles throughout his career, but the way that he's played in the playoffs the last 2 years, I'm like, okay, like I'm here for it. You have earned my respect,
Yes. Yep.
um, I mean, and so much credit to Kevin Pritchard and that whole staff, and
Absolutely.
what Donnie Walsh started there. I was actually just watching the Reggie Miller 30 for 30 and had forgotten that they drafted Reggie instead of Steve Alford, and how
That's right.
Indiana lost their minds. Um,
Yeah, I
so,
remember that.
you know, yeah, you were there, right? Like
Hell yeah.
yeah.
I remember, man. Shit, you have to remember the Indiana Hoosiers just won the national championship. Steve Alford's coming to the NBA. And you saw the 30 for 30. The Mel Daniels was right. It would have been a match made in heaven. Would have sold so many tickets and jerseys and blase scoop. But Walsh had the vision, man. There's the
hmm
6'7" kid out in California that shoots it great outside. He's got good length, could run the floor. Yeah, let's go with him.
Yeah. I mean, and you ask people now, like, I mean, people would not know, like, who is, I mean, people in Indiana know Steve Alford, right? But like this generation now is not, it's not, it wasn't like Steve Alford went on to be this incredible pro, right? Good, he's a great coach now. But yeah, it's crazy how thoughtful Donnie Walsh was, and really to start this whole run, and how good that organization has been about rebuilding, internally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, man. I mean, like you have to become a perfectionist at that craft because let's face it, Indianapolis, in the state of Indiana, it's a flyover state.
hmm
Nobody's going to Indiana to go vacation. Nobody's going to Indiana to, no.
Yeah.
So you want to be, viable in this marketplace, you have to have another niche.
hmm
And that niche is to build first and foremost in the draft. That's your best chance.
hmm
And maybe to find some quality veterans that you can get at a decent rate um, to keep you guys competitive at least until you can see which one of these draft picks winds up actually blossoming into something special.
hmm
I get it. It works. It definitely works. It takes a little time, but then I've also seen it not work. Case in
hmm
point, the Philadelphia 76ers, man.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I honestly feel bad for them to some extent. It's like, dude, y'all got it all
hmm
in the palm of your hand too, and you can't even get it together. You
hmm
can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Shit, I tell you what, I hope they're looking for a coach, and I hope that Thibodeau goes over there.
hmm
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually, honestly, I'm just glad that the Pacers did not go for a reunion with Paul George. I think that would have been a disaster. So,
Oh,
um,
disaster, man. Yeah, just what I can't stand about him is he's a player that has to have the ball in his hands, and that
mhm.
doesn't work for our offense. That doesn't work for our system.
No.
Yeah, not good. He had some good years though when he was there,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
just wouldn't work. Not with the system we have today.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
Well,
true.
I appreciate the time. I know that you are in Vegas DJing, so your day is probably just getting started.
Absolutely,
Mine is winding down, but appreciate you taking some time, and go Pacers.
absolutely. Go Pacers! Go Pacers! George McGinnis.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time.
Indeed, my man. Shit, we appreciate you too, brother, man. We'll get at you here.
Awesome. Take care.